because the reason why you even were allowed to go there because you were enrolled in the ROTC.
Correct.
And now that you're not in the ROTC, this is not your neighborhood school.
Correct. I'm supposed to go to the other school. We were bused to the other school.
So this is in the era of when busing was taking place.
Yes, it is.
All right, describe that for a second.
So that's interesting, right? So Oxon Hill, at that time, was probably a majority white school.
Okay.
We had some kids who were of color. We had some African Americans or blacks. We had Asian kids. We had some Hispanic kids. Not too many. It wasn't very Hispanic in those days. But we had a number of African American kids that lived in the neighborhood. They would go there. But Potomac was about 85% black.
Okay.
Because of the area where it was. Most of the folks that lived in that area were black.
Okay.
Right? And so the one neighborhood that was mostly white that was bused to it was Birchwood City, my neighborhood. And I didn't not want to go to the school because it was black. I wanted to go to Oxon Hill because that's where my friends were. I really didn't know anybody at Potomac.
Got it.
I
So
mean,
time out.
Yeah.
I thought it was that the black kids were getting bused in the white schools to desegregate.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it was reverse.
Mm-hmm.
They were busing the white kids into the black schools.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Probably to help even things out, if you think about it, right? So as a kid, you don't really know what the rationale is behind certain things.
Right.
You just know what you're told to do, and you just generally go do it.
Did the parents have a problem with this?
I think a lot of them did originally. There
was probably a lot of unrest.
There was a lot of. I remember hearing about it when my sister went to Potomac too. My older sister, Kimberly.
Okay.
So she went there for a while, and I don't know if she graduated from there or not. She might have.
Okay.
Because that was at the point where my mom left and took her. So.
Got it.
Right. But I know she graduated. There was a lot. I remember hearing the parents talk about it. There were probably a lot of white parents at that point who were upset that their kids were going to go to the black school.
Right.
There was nothing wrong with Potomac as a school. It
Okay.
was a great school. They had good teachers.
It was just predominantly black.
Yeah, a lot of good kids. A lot of good kids.
Okay.
You know?
What was your experience like at Potomac?
Well,
So you did 12th grade at Potomac.
I did 1 month of 11th grade, and then...
Oh, right. So you did. Well, you learned nothing. It's nothing you learn in June.
Right. It's your last month
Right.
of school.
So you literally had to transfer to Potomac for 1 month.
Right, that's another story, right? So they kicked me out of school.
Right.
And so I wasn't going to go back.
Okay.
I was done. By the time I was in 11th grade, I played in a professional band.
Called?
We were named the Resistors.
The Resistors,
Right, we were a
okay.
punk rock band in the late 1970s in Washington, D.C. We played the Keg in Georgetown. We played the University over in Virginia. We played up in Anne Arundel County and outside of Annapolis. We played a lot of college parties. We played College Park, Maryland, where University of Maryland is.
Right.
We were on the college circuit. Right?
And you're like 16, 17.
I was 17.
You were 17. How'd you link up with these guys?
So I met them through a friend in high school at Oxon Hill. He said, my buddy's looking for another guitarist for his band. Well, what they really were looking for was a place to rehearse.
Right.
I had a house.
It was win-win. You
It
got to
was.
hang with the other guys, the older guys, and be in the band.
Yeah.
And they needed a place to rehearse.
Yeah.
And here they got this place where they don't have to pay.
Right, and or have to turn it down.
Right.
And can rehearse 24/7.
Wow.
And when they're done, they come back with the gig, they drop all the equipment in, and they can just hang out and party.
I was about to say, they're a band, so I'm quite sure it was a lot of girls over your house.
Oh, yeah. And they're all in their 20s.
Right. So it was drinking.
Oh, yeah.
There was girls.
There was girls.
I couldn't even imagine what else.
All kinds of other drugs and stuff.
And other S words.
It was-
A lot of S words.
It was party central, man.
Jim, let me use your room. All right.
Yeah. A lot of that. Yeah.
A lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of that. So that was going on right at that time, and I got kicked out of school, and I was like, all right, well, I'm done. I mean, we were making money every week.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't making mad money, but I was
Right.
making money, and I had a job, plus I had the band.
Okay.
So why do I need to go to school?
Exactly.
So the drummer in this band,
Okay.
his name was Jerry.
Jerry.
And I
Shout out to Jerry.
Shout out to Jerry, and I think Jerry was 22 or 23.
Okay.
You know, so he's old. Right?
Right.
And I looked up to him.
Right.
And he looked right at me. He goes, Jim, if you do nothing else, he goes, you have to finish high school. You have to graduate.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, Jerry, why? Look at what we're doing here. And he goes, look at me. He goes, I'm a drummer in this band. I'm like, I know, and you're great. He goes, I'm a welder. He goes, I don't have any education. I'm not going to go anywhere or do anything. He goes, if this doesn't make it, I got no shot. That's it. And I never had anybody put it in that kind of perspective before.
Okay.
He goes, you have to graduate high school no matter what you do.
So Jerry pushed you to finish. The drummer in your band.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't that crazy how, like, your peers, even though they were older, they were your peers.
Mm-hmm.
They know. Even your peers know when you're kind of out of place.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't be like us.
Right. He said, don't do that. So I go, I get in my car and I drive over to the high school and I walk in the front door and I said, I need to register to come to school here. And they took one look at me and they said, where are your parents?
Right.
I was like, oh, that's going to be a problem. So I called my dad. He's all mad.
Right.
Oh, rah. So I said, well, look, just don't come. I just won't go to school anymore. And he's like, nah, I'll show up. So he shows up.
Your dad showed up for you.
He showed up for me for 15 minutes to walk in the door and sign the paperwork.
Right.
Back
And
out.
bounced.
And bounced. That's right. Back out.
Okay.
Didn't see him again for I don't know how long.
So you go to Potomac, 12th,
So
11th grade, 1 month of 11th grade.
Finish it up. Go to Potomac, right, in 12th, my senior year, my last year of school, my
Okay.
12th grade. And I had this teacher. And I'm going to say her whole name because this teacher probably saved my life.
Okay.
Her name is Debbie Santmyer.
Shout out to Miss Debbie Santmyer.
Shout out to Ms. Santmyer. I had her for 3 things. I had her for English Lit, I had her for health, and I had her for study hall.
Okay.
So I had her 3 periods, so half the day I was
Right.
with Ms. Santmyer, right? And she told me, she's like, look, you've got a lot of potential. Don't waste your potential.
Okay.
And I never had anybody tell me that before. And she's like, you can do anything. Anything you want. She goes, but if you screw this up, she goes, you got no shot. So she made sure that I came to school every day that I needed to come to school so I could graduate. She made sure I graduated high school.
Really?
She was the one person who, like, spoke that truth into my life.
More than your parents, she...
Because she was there every day. They
Right,
weren't, right?
right,
No
okay.
offense to mom or dad, they just weren't there.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What was going to Potomac like with, like, so it was predominantly black and now half white, or still
No.
predominantly black?
No, it was still probably about 85% black. If I think about my classes and the folks that were in my classes and everything,
How'd you get along with the black kids?
we got along great
Okay.
because, everybody had blunts. We all spoke the same language.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
but on the parking lot.
Oh, so you were cool. Like, you had the weed. They was like, it's a cool white boy. You cool with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the guys were cool, right? They were all cool, and the girls were cool. Like, everybody was friends, right?
Okay.
I don't think by the time we got to high school, like at that age, I don't think anybody cares about what color anybody is.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like,
High school was so cliquey.
yeah.
But if there was that weed clique, nobody cares.
Or if it's where I went to school long enough to just pay attention to just the stuff I got to do and then I'm out.
Right.
I was, again, working, by the time I was in senior year in high school, I worked at a bank. I had a full-time job.
Okay.
So I worked at a bank and I had the band, right? I did a lot of stuff, I had a lot of stuff going on outside of school.
Okay, got it. So you graduate from Potomac?
Finally.
Who all showed up for graduation?
Mom and sisters showed up.
Your dad didn't come?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know that he knew. I probably didn't tell him.
Okay. Didn't even want him to
I
come.
mean, I had his phone number, but
But you do graduate.
I do, right?
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Now that high school is over, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst ever and 10 being the best possible, how would you personally rate your childhood?
My childhood was a 10, Khalid.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what does a 10 childhood look like?
A 10 childhood looks like you live in a house with your mom and dad and your sisters for most of your upbringing.
Right.
You have 10 acres of woods behind your house that you go sledding in the wintertime when it snows. You go hiking around and exploring. You go learn how to build fires in the woods and how to build tree forts with your friends. And you have your first girlfriend, so, you have a, like, kissing her in the woods. That's always a fun thing, right? You have a bicycle that you get to ride, so you have freedom. You can ride all over the place. You can go to the park. You play on sports teams occasionally. So I played a little bit of baseball when I was a kid. Again,
Okay.
never very good, but, have fun with it. You have a mom and a dad who have a wall full of books in the house, a literal wall full of books. It's floor to ceiling, right? And any book you want to read is right there on that bookshelf. So you could read anything you wanted, all kinds of books. So every book I could imagine. My mom took us to the library all the time when we were kids. We had all kinds of books.
Okay.
So it was just really good, and I'm very close to my sisters. I was very close with them then, and I'm very close with them now.
Do you have a worst childhood day or time period that you like to forever forget?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, you said you had two.
Yeah.
All right, so what was the first one?
I don't remember which
So,
ones I said. I
The-
know one.
The
But
first one was lunchtime, and
Oh,
the
right,
second one was in the woods, on the
right,
trail.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, thank you. So lunchtime. So my mom did the best she could, right? But my mom worked at night. She was a nurse working in the hospital at night.
Okay.
She was an ICU, CCU nurse, intensive care unit, cardiac care unit. So
Okay.
this is the worst of the worst.
Working on people's hearts.
People's hearts that are going to die. They're
Got
in
it.
they're in intensive care,
Okay, right.
and it's the heart unit in the intensive care unit.
Got it.
Right. So, so very serious. So she'd come home and she would try to make us lunches and stuff for school, but she did the best she could. She had 4 kids, eating her out of house and home. So she did the best she could for making us lunches, but for some reason, and I don't know why, lunchtime was always horrible for me. You go in this lunchroom, you're packed full of kids, and there's always some kid that wants to trade you for something and you don't got nothing to trade, right? Or there's some kid who walks along and he pours his milk on your sandwich or something. It was just one of those things where I hated lunchtime.
Okay.
And I just didn't like eating with other people, and it was just that was the one bad thing about my childhood.
Now that's interesting because I've never heard anybody say that. Like lunchtime. Normally in school, lunch is like one of the favorite things of school, and you abhorred it.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, most days it was okay, right?
Right.
But every once in a while, you have one of those days where you're just
So most of the bad stuff that happened to you in school was at lunch.
That's lunch.
And you knew it was going to happen. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
Got
Right.
it.
So there was that. And then the incident in the woods was me and my friends were playing in the woods, just running around, with sticks.
What woods is this in?
So this is the woods behind my house. So it was about
Okay.
10 acres of woods between my house and the Washington Beltway.
Okay.
So our neighborhood backed right up on the Washington Beltway.
Oh, so if you walk all the way through, you're going to be on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. 2 sets of 4 lanes, right?
Right.
Big highway, right? So we're playing in the woods, and we see this girl coming down the trail. She was going somewhere, and we knew who she was. We knew her brothers and sisters, so we knew the family. We recognized her.
Okay.
And just being stupid kids. And we were probably...
The woods are full of boys and some girl. Even though you guys know her, some girl comes.
Right, and we're like 9 or 10, 11 years old. I think we were like maybe 9 or 10. Not too old, but like old enough that, she's going to see a bunch of boys, making noise in the woods, right? So we start just, yelling things and whatever, like hey or whatever. And so she takes off, right?
Okay.
I mean, because who wouldn't, right?
Right.
So she takes off running, and so, we chased her for a couple of minutes, but then we're like, okay, whatever. So she got going where she was going. So we're walking back up the trail, and we noticed that she had dropped an envelope on the ground.
Okay.
And we didn't look at it. We just picked it up and just shredded it. Just threw all the paper up in the air.
Because she was a girl, who cares?
Right. We didn't know what it was. We had no idea.
Okay.
So we go on home, go have dinner, whatever. Regular day, no big deal. The next day, there was a knock on the door, and I look out the window, and I see her and her dad, or her mom, or it was her family. I recognize them.
Okay.
So I ran and hid, because I knew.
So wait, there was like 4 or 5 of you guys, and they came to your house, or they went to every house?
They probably went to the other houses, too.
Okay.
I don't know. I just remember this happened. They came to my house.
Okay.
She might have recognized those other kids. She may not have. I know she knew who I was.
Got it.
Because one of her brothers was the same age as me.
Oh, okay.
Or my sister Debbie, actually, they're the same age. So, but we all grew up together, all these kids, right? So she knew who it was. So I ran and hid, and so I hear them out there talking to my mom and dad for a while. Then they leave. Then my mom and dad come and talk to me. And I'm like, were you in the woods yesterday? Yes.
You're like, yes.
Did you find an envelope in the woods? Yes. Do you know what that envelope was? No.
And didn't care. Okay.
I didn't say I didn't care, but I said I didn't know what it was.
Right.
And they said, well, that envelope is an application for benefits for that family. The only way they can buy groceries and eat for a month is because these benefits help them with assistance. And if that application doesn't go through, they don't get their benefits. They don't get to eat for a month. And I was like, oh, and I realized what me and my friends had done.
Okay.
How badly we had harmed that family. Like, what are they going to do now?
Right.
I mean, maybe they could get another one. I don't know. You know, I don't know what the story was. I know it wasn't good, right? So my parents were like, you know, you can't do that. You can't tear up other people's stuff. You can't harass people. You know, you can't do that. That's not how to be, right?
Okay.
So that was an eye-opening thing for me to learn about the damage you could cause somebody inadvertently without even knowing.
Wow.
So
wow.
that was a bad day.
You got in big trouble for that. You were on restriction.
I was on restriction.
For a long time.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Okay. What was restriction like in your house?
Yeah, so restriction was not good. That's punishment, right?
Right.
So restriction means you get no TV. You got to go to your room as soon as you come home from school. You can't come out except to eat dinner and then back in your room. Unless it's your turn to do the dishes, in which case you got to eat dinner, then you got to do the dishes, then you're back in your room.
Right.
So no TV, no playing with your sisters, you know, just whatever's in your room is what you get, right?
Okay.
So,
All right, forget restriction. Do you have a favorite childhood day or time period that, if you could, you would like to go back to?
well, now, knowing what I know now or back in the same time?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to go back to that day at Anna's house and just tell her thank you for the
Okay.
gift you gave me,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
What a magical gift to give somebody.
And you kind of still play a little smidgen of guitar now.
I'd play a little, yeah.
Give us a little riff. Give us a little riff.
All right.
Give us like 30 seconds of what you can do.
This is a shout out to Anna.
Okay, shout out to
There
Anna.
you go.
Nice.
25 or 6 to 4.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Do you feel like there's anything in your childhood that occurred that affected your life either negatively or positively forever?
Yeah. I would say my parents splitting up affected my life both positively and negatively for the whole rest of my life.
How so?
So, if my mom hadn't left, she felt like she was in grave danger. She really felt that way. And so she felt that if she didn't leave, things were going to get worse for her and for my sisters in a way that I could not imagine. So she saved her own life by doing what she did. And she's often told me she felt very bad about leaving me behind. And I have told her over and over again, Mom, you did not leave me behind. I could have gone with you. I just chose not to. That was my choice. So what that did was, when I got married to my late wife,
Condolences.
Thank you. I married Tricia in 1988. She's the mom of my kids. And I knew when I married her that I was never going to get divorced, no matter what happened. I was going to make that relationship work, no matter what I had to do to make it work. And so we were together until death did us part.
Okay. That is interesting. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right, Khalid.
Okay. Quick question. You have a 32-year-old son.
I do.
If we take your 32-year-old son, everything that you know about him today, and stick let's say you stick your son, or let's stick your son's 15-year-old body inside yours, will he have been able to handle it?
Oh, man. My son, if you took my son's 15-year-old body and stuck him in my 15-year-old body,
Right.
He would have had the time of his life. He would have maximized everything. He would have had a whole place running like a clockwork. He would have had it all organized. He would
Like
have
Tom
been
Cruise
making
in
mad
Risky
money.
Business?
Right. He would have been, yes, he would have done the risky business thing. He would have had the whole operation up and running and people coming and going and dropping off the cash and every kind of thing. My son is very bright and very organized, and he is very driven. And so he would have done way better than me, Khalid.
Got it.
Way better.
Got it. Do you feel like your kids overall had a better childhood than you did?
So I think my kids, materially speaking,
Like
as far as
economically?
Economically speaking, I think they had a much better childhood than I did because I made way more money than my folks did growing up.
Okay.
And through blessings, through being blessed and having opportunities to do that. I'm not saying that my mom didn't work hard, but nurses don't get paid a whole lot,
Right.
And so I had a good career in the business I'm in, and so I could provide materially for my kids. My kids grew up in a nicer house than what I grew up in. We actually could afford things like furniture. My mom could never buy, new furniture, like ever, right?
Okay.
So I think materially my kids grew up in a better place. I hope, I don't know for sure, but I hope and pray every day that they grew up in a good emotional place and a good spiritual place, wherever they happen to be spiritually, and that they grew up in a place that knew that they were loved every day.
Right, because it's hard to speak for other people, but this is your perception.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of perception, what is your overall perception of how your childhood affected your life? Like, who is the Jim of today? Who did you become? And do you feel like all these experiences added up to who you are today?
Yes, absolutely. I believe that every person is the sum of their experiences, good or bad, and that you have to make the most of every opportunity that comes along. So I was blessed by a number of things in my childhood. The desire to learn, the desire to educate myself, the desire to read. And so by reading all the books that I read, I kind of self-educated along with the education that I received along the way. And so it opened up my curiosity. By being outdoors with my dad and doing outdoor stuff, I'm an avid outdoorsman. By
Okay.
being a reader, I'm an avid student of all things. I like to learn. Every day I like to learn something new. My mom being a nurse and a caregiver, I've learned how to be a mentor and a coach to other people.
Okay.
And so every part of my childhood experience has helped me become the person that I am today.
With that being said, knowing everything that you know today, everything that you experience, looking back at your childhood, if you could talk to a younger Jim, a younger James, what age would he be, and what advice would you give him?
Oh. I think he would be about 10 or 11 years old, maybe 12.
Okay.
And I would tell him the same thing that everybody else has been telling me my whole life, Khalid, but if it's me talking to me, I'd maybe listen better, and I'd keep my damn mouth shut.
I know that's right. Jim, we thank you for being here.
It's been a wonderful opportunity, Khalid. Thank you.
Appreciate it.